Oh, man, we're doing it. Hi, everybody. I'm Kyle Heyer. Welcome to the GridLife Drivers Meeting. This is the first of many of a weekly show we're doing, hosted here at the GridLife Car Club. And I'm joined by myself, and I. We've got Sean just off screen there hanging out, watching the inaugural show. But Chris is wandering around here somewhere. But we've got two great guests on tonight. We've got Ryan Leach, and we also have Dewey DeWitt popping in. And this is a new show that's designed to sort of capitalize on all the news and things that are happening in the GridLife paddock that we're really not talking about in any other way. This is also going to be good for me, so I can sort of keep up to date with what's going on around in the GridLife community, because in between events it gets so busy. So the goal here is to learn about drivers that we don't know a lot about, bring them in, talk to them, give them a face, and we're going to also talk about rules things at some point when we'll bring Adam and John on. We'll talk about the schedule when that comes around. This is basically going to be all by you for the community here. We've got a whole bunch of people tuning in. Omaris always checking in. Jackie Ding's here. A whole bunch of other Matt DeRoos, John Hall's here. Hey guys, and the first 15 minutes of this is going to be basically a hangout chat. We're going to hang out, answer some of your questions if you have any. And we're going to expand on segments as we go throughout the season, and especially post and pre-event. Like for next week prior to Road America, we're going to talk to some drivers that are sort of in the points conversation. We've got Eric Magnuson lined up for next week. We've also got AJ Hartman that'll be joining us. So we'll be talking to people that are sort of relevant in the GridLife paddock. We're super excited about it. Ryan Conway says, Dewey won't need a mic. I'll be able to hear him from Michigan. And I'm a little bit afraid of my audio levels when Dewey pops in. But I'm really excited. And one of the reasons why we brought Dewey on board was because he's been around GridLife for so long. He's been a competitor in the GridLife Track Battle Series for years. So, we figured that if anyone's going to come on this first show and sort of help us shape it into what the community is looking for, it's going to be him. So really hoping to turn this into something that everyone can tune in weekly and learn something. They can offer their advice on what we want to do next. But my hope is we can have competition breakdowns. We can look at Eric Cattill's pass on Matan Rosenberg and break down every moment of the season, and then talk about what's going on in the Time Attack community, what's going on in the Rush community, what's up with Gridlife GT, this whole new Firelapse thing we launched. What's that going to feel like? This is a platform to talk about those things. So I hope that the community takes advantage of it. My Tuesday nights will be hanging out with you. And especially if you're here in the Chicago area. I know Peter Granberg already reached out to me, and you want to come on the show and join us in person. I'd love that. So we're set up to have guests on in person and virtually, and I've got my monitor over here. My guests will be joining me from the chair, so really looking forward to having them on. So we're really looking forward to it. Chris popping in the chat. He was just at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. The pictures coming out of that were absolutely wild. And I think, it's certainly different than GridLife, but I think there's definitely some parallels to draw there. I think especially when we talk about an event like Circuit Legends, like the parallels you can draw between a Goodwood and a Circuit Legends, I think there's a little bit of DNA that's shared between those two things. But we've got Road America Summer Apex coming up next week. Super healthy fields for everything. I think we've got over 40 GLTC. I see 85 track battle entries. And I'm hearing somewhere in the vicinity of 45 Rush Series cars. So that's going to be an absolute blast. We've got a really cool broadcast. I think next week one of the neat things to dive into will be a little bit of the broadcast map and the tech that goes into that show. Because Road America is a huge place, 4 miles around, and broadcasting it is a huge challenge. We've got our new team, Project Prime, on board with us this year. They've done an amazing job, but this is a Herculean task to cover it with the quality that they have. So we'll go over a little bit of that next week when we talk to Eric Magnuson and AJ Hartman. Matt DeRoos says he hasn't been to Circuit Legends. Matt DeRoos, you got to go to Circuit Legends, man. Maybe it's like having different, I don't have kids yet, but it's like you got to pick your favorite kid, right? What's the event that is most special to you on the GridLife calendar? For so many people, it's Midwest Fest, but for me, I have to say it's Circuit Legends. Omaris is going to be looking forward to watching the broadcast all the way from Indonesia. And Jim Smith popping in, ready to hear about Rush from the Florida Man Cowboy. I didn't do this intentionally, but on our thumbnail we've got a cowboy, we've got a pirate, which I think is pretty prime. So pretty stoked about that. Matt Drew says Project Prime is killing it. How did the 86 do Sunday at West Michigan Honda Meet, Kyle? I did take my FRS out to Honda Meet, and I did a total of 5 flying laps across 2 sessions. I put on like the best Advanced Auto Parts brake pads I could get. And what works out great is that as soon as they were overheating, my car was running 260 oil temp because I don't have an oil cooler. So it was like an automatic clock to stop running the car and keep it from blowing up. So it worked out really great. I had a blast. Super, super fun. So I actually, the last time I drove, I think I drove Honda Meet once, like in 2021, like right after I got the car. But that also could have been a Midwest Fest on a Sunday. But no, it was cool. I was actually surprised how many people there were on Sunday, so that was really cool. But thumbnail looks like a WWE promo. I was pretty stoked. That's one of the other big things I'm really excited about this year is the driver photos. It's just such a little thing for us to do to grab a photo of every driver that comes through during registration. But like the number of places I've been able to use those and really level up, like the points pages, all the little widgets I've been building out. I'm really, really stoked about that. And then also the car pictures too. If you haven't seen it, go to the Grid.life website, go to the motorsports section and pick a series and go to the points page. And you can get all the points formatted and then a side profile of the driver's car and their headshot if I have it already, and I'm really, really excited. Evan McLaren's popping in the chat. Driver profiles are awesome. Thank you for making those. You're welcome, Evan. We've got a long way to go with those, and for those that are unfamiliar with how the results work on our side, if you've been going back years and clicking, 2018 results on the GridLife website, and you get taken to a spreadsheet, that's the same thing we were using. So I went back through and downloaded all those spreadsheets, got them into some code that basically put them all the results into like JSON files effectively. And the problem with that is I have this vehicle history thing, which I think is super cool to see like what cars a driver has used, what class, what year, what numbers. The challenge is over the years, we've changed how we reference vehicle models and things over the last couple of years. So it's not always correct. And I know in particular the Rush Series cars, I have to change how that data is captured there. Because even across series, the formats are different. So it was definitely a challenge, and it's not done yet. But I'm really excited about what that helps me as an announcer at the event pull up your stats really fast and allows you guys to go and get in there and really compare and contrast stats, look at lap times in a much, much more user-friendly way. And a lot of drivers were talking about like, hey, if I want to send my sponsor results, so I just have to send them a Google spreadsheet? And the answer is no. Now you can send them to this, or you can send them a screenshot from that. Really, really excited. We also have a new schedule widget that is kind of using the same tech that we've been using across the broadcast graphics and that sort of thing, and those driver profiles. So it's almost ready for launch, but basically the weekend schedule, you'll still be able to access the sheet the same way you've always done, but you can also access it via a similar link, and you can basically checkbox like main track, all the music attractions. For Road America, like the Motorplex, you can basically hit those check boxes. You can see the schedule all in front of you, and then you can format it in a way that's like scaled with the length of the block, or you can put it all on the screen at once. You can also download it as an image with or without a background. Really stoked about that, and there's more to come. So Matt Drew says, what are you looking forward to most at Road America? I have to say I'm really, really excited for Gridlife GT. I know that the class is a little bit lean still in its early days here, but as we build it, I think you see cars like Aaron Lichty's C8. I know that Alex Peitz is working on one as well. More cars are going to get added to this class. We're going to see the class continue to grow. But the thing I'm most excited about is the Firelapse integration. We just announced that partnership a couple of days ago. And basically the first 25 drivers that sign up for a GLGT race will get a Fire Link and a 1-year subscription to the Firelapse data and software package. And what that means is on the broadcast now for Gridlife GT only right now, we'll be able to display all this live data in a really cool way. We've got a handful of different metrics we're going to be able to show currently. It's minimum and maximum speeds from a driver's best lap of the day and the session. And we've also got braking force, and we've got cornering force. So you can see which cars are pulling more Gs, which cars have their min speeds that are lower tthan others. It's a really, really cool little widget. So I'm super stoked about that. I got to basically build that graphic cradle to grave, which was really, really neat, working with the API, and there's so much more coming your way with that. Jim Smith says, love the class vehicle history, tons of potential. I know, there's so much more to go. Thanks, Omaris, appreciate it. Will there be spectators allowed next year at Mid-Ohio? Do I know? Accident prone. I don't know, and our schedule for next year is a long way from being complete. So, again, we'll pass that along when we have it. But why don't we go to Sebring? it's a long way from us. And Sebring's a really big place. I would say never as far as racetracks are concerned. We're always looking at new markets and looking at different places for drivers to join. And Sebring has been on the list for a long time for drivers, especially in the Southeast. So it gets looked at, but that is a big place. I've been there a bunch. It's hot. I think it would have to be on the extreme ends of the year, probably not in the middle of the summer, but pretty excited about that. Man, great questions so far, and in just a couple minutes, we're going to be joined by Ryan Leach, who is the current points leader in the GRIDLIFE RUSH Series. And Jackie says, Sebring 2026 confirmed. We're not going to do that, Jackie. We're not confirming anything. All the words out of my mouth are very unofficial as regards to schedule things. You guys know when you guys see that at PRI, when we announce that, typically those things come together, in a way that isn't conducive to launching it much before then. So, Road Atlanta and Sebring aren't far. You're right. You're right. We did return to Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. That was great. Christian got really excited about Sebring, but everyone's getting stoked about Central Florida. But there's our schedule's pretty solid this year, I have to say. So, but where's everyone tuning in from? This is one of my favorite things. When we're doing live streams like this that are more personal, we can kind of hang out and chat. Is seeing where everyone's checking in from. A lot of you guys I know, I'm familiar with. But it's a little bit of a battle to see who's from the furthest away. I think Omaris has you beat. And Omaris, what time is it in Indonesia right now? Because it's got to be, what are you, 12 hours ahead, 11 hours ahead? JC says, can we go back to a 2-day schedule for each class? I know the weekend schedule is always a huge conversation. I know that was a hot topic a couple of weeks ago. And, I think there's a lot of things that you can win with having a 2-day schedule. There's some wins from having a 3-day schedule from a couple different circumstances. It gets really hard to jam everything into just 2 days. So I'm just spitballing. These are conversations that are going to be ongoing, and we're going to try to make the best decision for everybody. But certainly there's a world in which you've got a 2-day schedule for each series. Maybe some are Friday, Saturday, maybe some are Saturday, Sunday. But you can't do all of it unless we run 18-hour days on the track. Tuning in from Grand Rapids, Michigan, says Scott Hollingsworth. Accident prone is Dayton, Ohio. Kansas City for John Hall. And Omara says it's 7:13 a.m. So it's exactly 12 hours ahead of where we are here. You're in Jakarta, Indonesia. Christian's in Sarasota, Florida. That's why he was stoked about Sebring. Aaron's says KC. Any plans towards Ozarks or Hedge Hollow? Can't speak to those individually, but I know that Adam and John are always in constant communication with any potential new racetracks, but nothing to report. Guys, we're in July. The schedules are a long way from now. But I can get you guys excited that it's not done yet, so there's always the potential for it to move. The final boss says, what's the cheapest and or best class to enter for a newbie in grid life? This says the final boss. And that's a really good question. I think you're going to get different answers depending on who you talk to. I think, what's the lowest prep class? We'll have to talk to Dewey about this, but I think a lot of people would say Street GT, either that or Club SC. But Club SC, I think, also is super competitive. So it depends on your newbie. If you're brand new to on track, get your experience in HPDE and come on over and play in Track Battle. But it'll be check out the Motorsports page, go to Track Battle. You see a list of the classes, and you can download the rules. But all the classes are super competitive, so it's just a matter of what's your vibe? Or do you want to have super tight competition and you don't really care so much about doing 180 on a straightaway, or are you a guy that wants to build a motor? Do you have a race car that you can pull the interior out of? That's going to basically decide your decisions there. Jackie says, about 15 miles and an hour and a half of traffic from GridLife HQ. Jackie, let's have you on in person. Maybe after Road America, if you're around, let's bring you in. I think that'd be super cool. We've got Ryan Leach joining us now, so let's pull him in, and let's have a little chat with Ryan Leach, because see what how he's doing tonight. All right. Hey, Ryan, you got me?
Yes, sir.
All right, I see you now. How are you, man? Good to see you.
Yep. How are you?
I'm doing great. This is a first for us tonight, so we're learning lots in real time, which I'm pretty excited about. This is you're on the first show, and I really appreciate you. I know that we had a couple of false starts along the way to get you here, so third time was the charm. But I want to chat with you about who you are as a driver, because a lot of the questions I would get were, this guy's crushing everybody in the GRIDLIFE Rush Series. Let's just start with this. Who are you? Where do you come from? What's your background? I don't know of a Ryan Leach before GRIDLIFE Rush Series, but everyone knows you now.
So I'm from the Tampa area. I live in St. Pete. My shop's in Clearwater. I kind of started, I would say, the traditional path in go-karts. So it's kind of a funny story. When I guess I must have been, I don't know, 10 years old or something. And my dad showed up with like a little lawn cart with a 5 horsepower lawnmower engine on the back of it. And man, I ran that thing around the neighborhood and caused lots of destruction, to say the least. And it ended up getting taken away from me. And I think my dad kind of felt bad about that. And so he bought me a proper racing cart, and we went racing from probably 10 years old to about 15. So I ran karts, and then after that did some Formula car stuff as well.
Gotcha. So what would you do in the Formula car stuff? I'm curious about that.
So it started out with a Jim Russell racing school at Sonoma. I would say I must have been 14, 15. It was before I got my license for sure. And then after that, I did some testing in a F2000 car, an F1000 car, and an IMSA Light car, an L2 car, which is, to me, similar to a Rush car. And then I also did one season in the F1600 Championship Series.
Gotcha. Okay, so tell me about the GRIDLIFE Rush Series, because you were sort of an early adopter to it, but I am a little bit curious on why you picked up a Rush Series car. There's a lot of great reasons for it, ranging from the fact that it's a relatively inexpensive chassis to they're pretty easy to work on, and they're not huge either, so you can transport them pretty easily. But what was the decision to jump into the Rush Series?
It's basically after the 2011 series I did in the F1600s, I pretty much thought I was done racing. My dad passed away, I would say, I don't know, 7-8 years later. And, I never really thought about going back to racing. With him passing away, that made me realize how short life is. And I was like, hey, you know what? I've made a little money. I have my own business. It's doing well. I want to go back racing. I want to do what I love to do. So my buddy that I raced with as a younger kid, his name's Andor. He was one of the first guys to buy a Rush. And I think I saw him posting about it on Facebook or something. And I was looking at it, and it was really cool. It looked super affordable. And I was like, this is something I could see myself doing, just because it relates back to the karting and the Formula car stuff that I did before. So I think he actually sent me the link to a used car, and I ended up buying it. And then I did the NASA stuff. And then I think it was the end of 23, when you guys collabed with Rush on that Laguna race.
Yep.
I watched that stream, and man, I was sold. It was so cool to see. So yeah, that's basically how I got into it.
Looking at the point standings for the year, we're going into Road America now, which is the next round of the national championship, and you have a perfect score still. What makes you so good at this car? Because the Rush field is really talented, and in particular, Andy Vogel we've seen be incredibly successful in our TrackBattle Series competition, and he's put a lot of time and effort into trying to chase you down, and he's been close a number of times, especially at Road Atlanta, but you've just been lights out. So what makes you so in tune with this car that makes you so untouchable right now?
That's a great question, and honestly, I can't really answer that. I don't know. I just I get out there and I don't really think. I just let instincts take over, and yeah, that's basically it. And obviously, I've had some luck as well. But yeah, I mean, my wife, she's a huge help with all this. She helps me work on the car, load the car, unload the car. My mechanic Ernie, who comes in, He flies into every event or drives, and he really looks over the car. And after every session, we have that thing coming apart. And I haven't had any issues mechanically this year because of that. And you know, the Diversion Motorsports team as well, they're very helpful with setup advice. We bounce things back and forth, and we've got the car hooked up. And when that car's hooked up, for me, when I like the way it drives, it's just, you know, we're flowing in sync. I don't know how to describe it, but it's working, put it that way.
Awesome. And for those of you watching in the chat, Ryan, you can see the chat, right? You should be able to have it on the right side of your screen there.
Yeah, it's a little blurry. I can't really read what it says.
Gotcha. But either way, we'll answer any questions you guys have for Ryan, because I think there's a lot of people that were in the same boat as me. They're like, where is this guy from? He's so fast. But let's shift a little bit to talk about Summer Apex, because Road America is a special place for motorsport fans. It's been a real special last couple of years with, you know, Summer Apex launching last year as our first real true festival at that event. It's a big place. It's a big event. Last year, you had a pretty exciting battle. Yeah,
that was awesome.
That 3-wide run up the hill. Yep. Tell me about Road America and the experience of driving in a GridLife Rush SR.
It's a long lap, that's for sure. You got plenty of time to kind of hang out a little bit down the straightaways, but yeah, I think it's a high grip track. You know, I don't. Gingerman and Carolina, I think everybody was kind of chasing the car a little bit, trying to get the car underneath of them. I don't think we're going to have that issue at Road America. So I definitely think it's going to be tight. The long straightaways are going to promote close racing. The draft in the rush works really well. So it should be interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to it.
And then I think contrast that with the next round on the calendar, which is our Circuit Legends event at Lime Rock Park. We go from the biggest track on our calendar to the smallest track on the calendar. It sort of changes the game a little bit. How challenging is that for you as a driver, and what changes are you making to the car between a place like Road America and a place like Lime Rock?
I can't give you all my secrets, Kyle. Come on, man.
Dang it. We were trying to uncover all the secrets tonight.
No, I'll tell you what, Lime Rock is a workout. Driving around that place in a rush doing, you know, 55-second laps or whatever we were doing. I don't remember, but holy cow. I remember last year I was worn out after that race because, I don't know, I think we did like 25 laps or something. And, you know, we're going full out quali laps. So, yeah, it's just, I feel like Road America is a lot easier on the body for sure, because kind of, you know, arms aren't getting as tired. You're kind of hanging out down the straightaways. And Lime Rock for sure is a busy place to be. So you're constantly working at it. And obviously the Rush doesn't have any driver aids, no ABS, no power steering. So it's definitely, you know, can be an animal to drive, that's for sure.
I have a question from Jim Smith, and maybe there's an inside joke to this that I don't understand. He says, "What's Ryan's greatest fear, and why is it ticks?"
Oh, gosh.
Does that ring a bell?
It rings a bell.
Uh-oh.
So I met Jim at Gingerman. I guess it was, he could probably tell you better the date, but I think it was the week before the Midwest Fest race. And guy's nice as can be. He came right up to me, shook my hand. He knew who I was. I didn't know who he was. Sorry, Jim. But now I do. You're awesome, brother. But yeah, we were talking. He actually helped me so much at Gingerman. We went out on the track in my Jeep and did a couple laps, and he was showing me the right line to be on, the rain line, because it's his home track. But we were hanging out. It was in between one of his sessions because I didn't test that day. I was just kind of hanging out with another buddy of mine, Bill, who was testing at the time. And yeah, I was laying on the ground, and we don't really have ticks in Florida, but I had something on my back, and I was like reaching around on my back, and it was a tick. I pulled it off. And you know, all the stuff going on in the news right now about the Lyme disease, this and that, I'm like freaking out. So after I finally got it off me, I felt like I had ticks on me the rest of the day. I was like reaching all over the place. So it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I guess we'll parallel that into another question. Have you ever had a super scary moment in a race car, whether it be the Rush or something else? Was there one moment that sticks out to you? It was like, whew, dodged a bullet there.
I would say in the rush at Road Atlanta in the rain, there's actually a video on my Instagram page of the onboard, but I think we were going down through the S's at 95, 100 miles an hour or something, and the car got super, super sideways in the wet. So, and basically in front of the whole field. That was a little bit sketchy, got my heart beating, but other than that, it's been pretty good. Like I said, I don't think too much when I'm in the car, so kind of stuff happens, but I don't even know what's happening most of the time.
There you go. Amaris asked, he's all the way in Indonesia, by the way, 12 hours ahead of us here in Chicago.
Wow. Awesome.
What's the fastest top speed you've ever reached in the Rush SR car?
That's a good question too. I don't look at too much of the data, but I'd say 138, 140, something like that.
That's cooking in that car, man.
Yeah.
That's fast. And so, as I understand it, the Rush SR, you can basically change, because it's like a chain drive motorcycle GSX engine, right? So,
yep.
As I understand it, you can change your top end with a gear and sprocket change. Is that how that works?
So we can't change the rear sprocket. That's a spec item. We're on a 44, but we can change the front gear. So we'll be either on a 14 or a 15. The bigger tracks, we're on a 15. The smaller tracks, I think Gingerman, CMP, we were on 14. But yeah, basically the car with the configuration, with the way the aero is and the power of the engine, you can't really go above a 15. It doesn't pull anymore. So it's too draggy.
Yeah. And you imagine that the high 130s is probably in the draft at a place like Road America?
Yeah, I believe so.
Gotcha. Cool. This has been fun, Ryan. So I want to talk a little bit more before I let you go about just the GridLife paddock in general, because you mentioned how in 2023 at GridLife Laguna you saw the broadcast, you're like, man, this is cool.
Yeah, very cool.
There's a lot of places to race, and I think it's interesting to watch the GridLife Rush Series, especially at a place like Summer Apex. We're going to see a field of 40+, where people have sort of decided to run with GridLife for whatever reason. But what draws you back to the GridLife paddock beyond just the Rush car having a place to play?
I would say for the money, like comparably, you could go SCCA, you could go NASA or GridLife. You could probably do some SVRA stuff, but just the whole atmosphere in the paddock is you're not getting that anywhere. There's fans everywhere. I mean, at Road Atlanta, I remember at the end of that race, the rain race too, which was crazy. At the end of the back straightaway, it was full of people, and you can't get that anywhere else. So it's really cool with the stream, the atmosphere, the music stuff. I mean, GridLife just puts on awesome events, and I'm definitely thankful to be able to run with GridLife. It's very, very cool.
Well, Ryan, we so appreciate you coming on, and again, this is the start of a weekly show, and I'm very glad to have had you on here, because the whole idea behind this is to bring context to those people that are in our paddock that are up on top of the leaderboard, but people don't know who they are. And so I think they got a little bit of an insight as to who Ryan Leach is tonight. And I really want to thank you for joining us and taking time out of your day. And you're getting loaded. Actually, you are on the road to Road America right now, right? So, or somewhere. Yeah,
we're just outside of Atlanta. We're going up a week early. I'm going to hang out with the Diversion Motorsports guys. Maybe throw some stuff at the car, some setup stuff. I have to talk to Evan about that. I see it looks like he put a comment, but I can't read what it says. What does Evan say?
With the extra runoff in the kink this year at Road America, will you go 3 wide, topping the 2 wide pass last year?
I'll think about it.
He'll think about it. All right, Ryan, thanks so much for your time, man. A pleasure, and we'll see you at Summer Apex here in a couple weeks.
Yep, thanks, Kyle.
Thank you. All right, Ryan Leach joining us tonight. What a pleasure. That was really, really cool. Let's bring in Dewey DeWitt, because I've been waiting to have Dewey on, and he is a character in his own right, and we'll bring him in. There's Dewey. Hey, buddy.
How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. First of all, I have to thank you so much. Sort of last minute, I tagged you in yesterday because I had Eric Magnuson lined up, but he couldn't make it this week because of some obligations. So I super appreciate you jumping in and helping us out.
If I got to play second fiddle to Eric Magnuson, I'm okay. It's fellow Eric, good dude. I'll try to pick up the slack over here.
We're going to have him on next week, so we're certainly not going to just skip over him. The reason why we wanted to bring him in was because he's contextual chasing in the IBOC GLTC Championship coming into Summer Apex. But I wanted to bring you in because, we had elephant in the room. We had a very exciting week a couple weeks ago on the internet. And Dewey, you are a voice of reason a lot, which I really like. You've been in grid life a long time. I think you've seen the whole thing, and you've been a competitor. You've got your own podcast called Heat Exchanger that you often are voicing opinions on grid life related things. So it seems apropos to bring you in on our first show where we're going to give people a platform to talk about all those things so that we don't have that happen again. Basically.
Yeah, and I mean, this has been an idea. It was one of the reasons that we Devin and I came up with Heat Exchanger, and now we got James on there. But this was an idea I had forever ago of we should do some sort of a talk show with a community. We've got this epic community. They're all super passionate, and honestly, a bunch of us are really tight, a tight knit group of friends. And we just want to keep this snowball moving. I think this is a great way to do it. So when you hit me up, I was super excited to be a part of it. I'm very stoked that this exists. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and just to be clear, this was an idea before that happened. This was actually supposed to launch in May, but for a variety of reasons, actually the first show was supposed to be on that I think it was a Tuesday that all went down. But again, yep. there was so much feedback from that. And I think a lot of it was fair, and there were certainly a lot of things that we'd already talked about internally here.
Sure.
And I don't necessarily want to address anything in particular there because it involves. I'm not. It's funny.
Yeah, I mean, and there's no reason to pick at stabs.
No, yeah.
Let's not do that.
but I think it's. What I wanted to talk about is you a little bit, but I also want to talk about what we should shape this show to be, because I know you've got opinions, sure. And I think that they're very valid. This is, I think, every week, we're calling it the drivers meeting. I want to meet the people in the paddock. I want to put their faces on a screen. I want to know who they are. We just did that with Ryan Leach, learn a lot about him. But I also want to sort of do some technical breakdowns and bring in people and talk about aero and have this sort of be a visual thing too. Go over a fast lap from the last event. So what are your thoughts on turning this into and having a segments that we can sort of change in week out, where we can really break down grid life competition, and maybe we can get into the weedsy stuff too. If you want to talk about rules one night and we want to bring Abe on and argue about rules and have grid life be present in that conversation, I think that's important.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think timeline, you're going to have to do different segments at different times. So let's say post Mid-Ohio, you're going to want to go over a bunch of records fell. If you've got videos of these records, we should show these record laps. I think it would be great. This is from a time attack standpoint, more than anything, but show these records. And not only that, one of the things that I think gets missed a lot in all the noise and the craziness going around with time attack is not only the craziness going on with the builds, but the people behind the builds. Yeah. There's with our team, it's not just me, it's Dylan also. Dylan he's slaving at the shop right now. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So we're getting ready for Road America. There's so much going on behind the scenes, especially with all these larger programs. These are psychopaths trying to bleed every ounce of speed out of a 90s crap box we can. There's so much there, and it's good content, and people want to hear about that. And then how are we going about doing that? Changes made, and the cars and the people behind them, they're their own storyline. It's kind of like Formula One, where if all you're doing is watching the Formula One racing, you're getting 1/10 of it. You're not really getting what's going on. It's all the dramas, Max going over to Mercedes. They just fired Christian Horner. This is great. That's the meat and potatoes.
It's like the Drive to Survive effect, right? And I think maybe on the F1 side, I'm drawn to the drama more than I am the on-track product a lot of the time, right?
Yeah.
But maybe in this sense, it's not so much the drama as it relates to the politics of it, but certainly the excitement and the stories that happen behind the scenes that we can't talk about normally.
Yeah, and it's hard to do that at the event, but all these stories you end up hearing about, post-event, people doing engine swaps at events, who's helping who, who's sharing data. And I mean, sometimes it does come down to rule snafu things that we're all arguing about it, but it makes it fun. You know what I mean? If in the end of the day, this is going to be an entertainment product, you know? So who are we building this for? You know, and I think we should share this because I think the storylines are there. I really do. And in my opinion, I think Time Attack at least would do better being presented as something how they did like Street Outlaws.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's the same thing with like Stage Rally, you know, how do you present that? It's really tough. But then you get that, you know, it's you do an amazing job, and you guys have done an amazing job of making Time Attack consumable for somebody who's maybe new at this, and changing the format a little bit so it's got a little more on the line, a little more stakes for a particular session, which is really hard to do normally. Which I like the new format and the way that's gone. It's even like my parents are not motorsports people, but they watch Grid Life, and
yeah.
I love that we're getting more of that, and I think this will just add to it.
Yeah, I think, you know, the point being is honestly, this is as much for me as it is for the community, because, and Dewey, you haven't been shy about saying this in the past, which I'm appreciative of, is that, you know, I announced the Grid Life broadcast. For those of you that somehow don't know that, if you're on the Grid Life YouTube, I think you probably have seen it at some point, but I struggle with getting that storyline information throughout the weekend, because the stream is all day from Friday through Sunday, right? So I don't get the freedom to go into the paddock and really get those stories, and then, you know, I'm stuck, you know, taking driver pictures or whatever. So this is going to help me learn these things in advance of going to the race weekend, and also just fill my background knowledge more. And I always said, like, I would keep a notebook, because I'm not a note taker, but if I'm just friends with people, and I think you pointed this out, that, like, you know, the IBOC GLTC guys, like, that was my circle, and it wasn't for any particular reason other than, like, that was the first friends group that I sort of associated with, and so that's why I have this depth of knowledge, because they're all my friends. So I want to do that for Time Attack too, but it's a huge group of drivers.
It's hard, and not only that, you've got cars coming and going, and builds that maybe, you know, don't make it, or there's so much happening. Time Attack's crazy. Like, you kind of just have to have your hand on the pulse of it all the time, and that's rough, because, you know, in your situation, you're covering 60 GLTC cars, then you got all the Rush stuff, and now the GLGT stuff, and then here we come with this massive wave of Time Attack, which is its own insanity. And it's not like they're a particular type of vehicle or a few different vehicles.
Right. Everything's different.
You can look at just Street Mod, okay, which you would think would be fairly similar. All the cars are drastically different. We got supercars, we got crap boxes, we got high-powered Supras, we've got S2000s with DCTs in them. We got all sorts of crazy stuff going on in Street Mod. How do you keep up with that? It's rough, you know? And honestly, there needed to be a way for the community to maybe funnel some of that to you. I think there needs to be like a Time Attack news Facebook chat where you just have some people that are around that are just dropping headlines like, yo, they're doing a engine swap over here. Yo, somebody's having problems with this. And it's just literally like headlines. Just dump a headline for Kyle to maybe investigate.
Well, yeah, I think also there's in that conversation that spooled up, there was a lot of conversation around, and you know, does TrackBattle, does Time Attack get the attention that it deserves? And I think the reality is, at least behind the scenes here, my big intention is to push and make it as exciting and as consumable as the wheel-to-wheel racing stuff. So the effort is there, and this is part of that effort, right? This isn't going to be a Time Attack only focused thing. However, I do think that there's so much going on just from the sheer number of entries. You can't track all the stories, so that's what this is really for.
Well, again, and this is going to help you all the way across, but just from Time Attack in general, I'm not going to lie, I was one of those voices in like 21, 22 that was like, you know, I don't feel that Time Attack is really, you know, getting any light shine on it. And then, you know, the format change, and you came along and kind of revamped some stuff, man. I got to be real. Anybody who's saying that now, I don't think understands the full picture of what's going on. I think you've done a great job, especially with the tools that you're giving. You've been given the hand you've been dealt, plus the stuff coming. I've seen just a tiny preview of the stuff coming,
Yeah.
and I am so excited.
Yeah.
I am beyond excited.
Here,
the future's bright.
For those that are watching, they're going to get a little bit of tidbits here week in and week out, a little behind the scenes look, because one of the other things that happened coming in from the off season is the cancellation or the disappearance of Race Hero, which I know we used a lot at the racetrack. We've been using Speed Hive this year. I used it at Road Atlanta for about 5 minutes, and I gave up and went and used the broadcast graphics in a Chrome tab so that I could see what was going on. So a little bit of a tidbit for those, as a little gift for those that have joined us in our first show, is that one of the things I'm working on in the background is sort of a GridLife timing page that is going to replace Speed Hive effectively. So it is sort of our own sort of stylized in our graphical style. And also the other piece of that is all the results will be available there as well throughout the race weekend. So it'll all be wrapped into one place.
As a driver, this is exciting too, because you just kind of started playing around with putting all of our data and old races in one spot in our like bios, and like all of that is going to update like right away. It's so exciting. We're going to be able to do so much with this.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about it. There's nothing to show just yet, at least not in a public setting, but we are working on it. There was a little bit of a technical test, and I think Road America and background will be something I'm still working on, but really excited about that. Quick question for you, Dewey, because it was asked earlier in the chat about your progress and your speed on the racetrack. How much of it is from car improvements, and how much of it is your increased time in the simulator?
You know, that's a fair question, and I'm gonna say probably about 50-50. Okay, and this is not. I'm not gonna lie. We made a pretty significant upgrade due to a rule change this year that allowed us to put a sequential gear set inside of our OEM housing. That freed up a lot of bandwidth in my brain to worry about, you know, taking corners correctly, braking the right spot, trail brake the way I need to. And that's been huge for me because I'm not worrying about the third pedal all the time. I'm even going to start playing around with left foot braking, which is an advantage I felt a lot of my competitors had, even though I got to reach off the wheel to grab the stick, you know, when these guys are playing with the paddle shifters, it still took it opened up a ton of bandwidth for me. But to use that, I spent a lot of time in the sim over the winter. Honestly, I got a hats off to DJ Ellis and Drini and Tom O'Gorman on the Lizard Brains podcast, because they, without them even saying it, kind of put me on a training regime. And I do a minimum of 10 races a week. And a lot of it's GR86 Cup. I'm actually like 30th in the world right now, GR86 Cup. I'm pretty proud of myself on that. I'm the third fastest American. So
that's really impressive.
I'm pretty proud of that one, and I worked really hard at that. But, you know, working on a lot of other stuff, the amount of time I put in the sim, I've started to get Graham into the sim too, and you immediately saw it opening up Graham's eyes to a lot of things. We've got Dylan's on the sim now, and we all, almost every night, we're racing, working on stuff, checking out video, you know, really trying to help each other out, and it's helping a ton. And once again, hats off to that podcast specifically. It really, I started looking at it like people would look at going to the gym, you know, and working out. That's a part of my workout regime. It's something that I have to do. Maybe I don't want to, but I have to do it.
You know, you mentioned Tom and DJ's podcast, Lizard Brains, and I'm an avid listener to Perfect Lap podcast, Lizard Brains, Heat Exchanger. You know, I listen to all these podcasts that are sort of tangentially grid life. I know that DJ's and Tom's a lot of times is autocross focused now, but they dabble in the conversation still.
They're us. I don't, whatever. The more they try to pretend they're not us.
No. Well, I think the idea here is that we, you know, when we were concepting this idea of this show, this weekly show, it wasn't to replace or get in front of any of those things. This is about bringing in them into the community. So here's some more news for you first-time watchers that have joined us, is that Tom O'Gorman will be joining us as co-commentator for the broadcast at Summer Apex next week. So
that's awesome.
So we'll have Lizard Brains on the broadcast. We've actually had DJ in the past there at Road America. We won't have him this time around. But this whole idea is like we want to leverage the community to talk about ourselves, because oftentimes the community is better at talking about themselves than we are, and we want to just also give an official place to talk about what's going on in our world. So yeah, Lizard, I listen to Lizard Brains, I listen to Heat Exchanger. All the things I'm listening to there are going to some weeks inform who I'm going to talk to, because you guys are talking about the hot topics.
No, I think that's great, and I'm also a firm believer in a rising tide raises all boats. So having you guys within this, let's say between event sphere where we're all talking about stuff,
yep.
I think is just going to elevate it even more. It can even be you touch on a topic and say, hey, they were talking about it on this. If you want to hear more, everybody wins. I think it's fantastic. Heat Exchanger was kind of designed to be a little on the spicier side of things, and we keep it there.
But it can be spicy here too. I don't want to make this boring either. Like that's
no.
You know what I mean? So we can talk about controversial things as long as it's generally fair. Like I'm in.
Yeah, I know, but our internal saying it might not be PG. So.
Well,
I think it's great, and I think it's a massive addition. I would like to personally see at some point all of us, because you just listed off a whole pile of podcasts.
Yeah.
I listened to another pile of podcasts, but we're all within the same sphere. And honestly, there's probably like 20 of us at this point. And I really think we should have a singular place where you can listen to all of this stuff, or find these podcasts, or find a lot of people have found Jackie Ding through GridLife, right? So like his YouTube channel should be dumped in there, and I think all of it should be in one spot, to where these are kind of like, our people, and if you want to hear more about it, it's here. That's me. I think there should be a central place for that, one way or another. And if like somebody like Heat Exchanger or Lizard Brains or whatever, they want to have their RSS feed, just pop their new episodes into there, that'd be great. So then everybody's updated, and then it pops up in your phone, so everybody's getting it all from the same spot. I know it's called Spotify, but none of us really want to do that.
Sure.
There needs to be a central thing, and I'd like to see it.
Yeah, and I think in general, with the whole idea of this too, and we talked about, should we do this weekly, should we do this bi-weekly, and yeah, is it a possibility that there might be some weeks that we skip a week? Sure, but I think for me, I was motivated to do it weekly because I think there's enough to talk about, and I think you'd agree.
Absolutely.
That especially when we're heading into an event, like I'm like, oh man, we only have one more show before Summer Apex. Like I got to get all the people in. We got to talk about what's going on. We got to talk about the records that we're going to see broken. Like all these things. I wanted to talk about like the broadcast. Right, we've got a really cool. Brand new broadcast team this year with Project Prime. This event is going to be covered better than it ever has been before, judging by the map that we showed. Also, this team, they showed us the camera locations using Assetto Corsa. And I was like, what a genius idea.
Yes.
I was like, these guys are great. So Chris Jennings and the Project Prime team, they slay it. I'm really looking forward to it next week. But yeah, in general, I think merging the community together, let's talk about the things that are on people's mind. If there's something that we want to address, we'll bring, Chris is in the chat now. We can bring Adam on. We can bring John Raymond on.
Absolutely.
And we can bring Abe in. And I think it gives us a place to have this and a place to conversate. And the other thing is, I wanted to, like, what's the F1 shows called? Where they, like, do, like, there's, like, the dude that has the cool TV screen, and he, like, rotates the car, and he's like, that's the diffuser. And it, like,
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's that called?
That'd be fun, man. I don't know what it's called, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know specifically what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And doing, like you said, doing some tech breakdowns, I think would be a really good idea. And where maybe we have somebody that's kind of third party. Let's say, like, we bring Ito in, okay?
Sure. Yeah,
and he can talk about the different cars, and I'm going to bring up Street Mod just because that's what I run, but the different cars in Street Mod and how they're all drastically different, but how they make speed differently, and it would be interesting, and maybe with things coming next year, I can't really talk too much about it, but I'm just saying, like, you could really do some cool breakdowns.
Yeah, I think for me, like, there was at one point an interest in doing, on the GridLife YouTube channel, just like, post-produced content that wasn't necessarily live, but I think in this context, we could absolutely do stuff live, talk about the differences in cars, analyzing data. I mean, there's no limit to this. I'm going to block out an hour and a half of my time every Tuesday for the rest of my life, and we're gonna talk about racing every week.
You better be here if it's on Christmas.
I will do it from home.
I'll fly in. We'll do it.
But that's sort of the reason why it's on a Tuesday too, because we're not traveling to an event on a Tuesday. At least here at Gridlife, I'm typically here. So there was some other tangentially related Time Attack news that went a little bit public, but Ross, we'll address that one in a future episode. I know you know what I'm talking about, Dewey, but we'll.
Oh, I do. That's what we're talking about tomorrow on Heat Exchange.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll let you guys get to it first. I don't want to jump ahead of it too far. Jackie Ding said, "Can we steal F1's podcast name and call this Beyond the Grid?" I think that was actually one of our concepts for the naming of this show. Delayed it a month and a half.
Would be great.
It honestly was a real thing. So, Dewey, let's talk about you for a couple minutes. So we'll have to the top of the hour here.
Sure.
We talked a little bit about your improvements this year and what you've done to the car.
Yep.
But let's talk about your background a bit, because I listened to an episode of Heat Exchanger where you talked about how you met Abe years ago. Let's back it up all the way to your first car, your introduction to cars. Where'd you come from? We did this with Ryan Leach. How'd you end up at Gridlife winning Street Mod weekends?
Well, you got to understand, man, I'm 42 years old. A lot of people think I'm going to be a little bit younger, but I'm not. So I've been around a minute. So, my very first car was a 1985 Mercury Topaz with 2 of the brake lines pinched off. So it went great. My high school car was a 95 Chevy Lumina minivan. So I didn't have like a motorsports family. I didn't have a dad who was really into that. We did a little snowmobiling and whatever, but like it wasn't that racing is something I loved. I loved to watch, and it was something I was interested in, but it never felt like something I could be a part of. And then fast forward, I went to the Marine Corps. Okay. And when I was in California for basic training, long story short, I'm in California for training. Okay. I ended up being a DD for some guys who lived in town, and they would have me just driving around while they got hammered. And one of their favorite places to go were the street races. Okay, so this is pre the first movie. I'm taking these guys to the street races. And if you notice in the very first Fast and the Furious movie, the amount of people around Dom when he does one of these that have a high and tight, there's a reason for that. A huge amount of the extras were Marines.
Wow.
So, going back to this, you look around, it's wild. He's like surrounded by Marines and nobody notices. But either way, I like realized this is something I could do. The first movie came out, that got me super hyped. I ended up buying an RX-7 that was a piece of shit and busted apex seals, and it was awful. Long story short, I ended up in a Honda Del Sol, and I was a Honda guy for years until the WRX hit. I picked my 02 WRX in 02. It was a horrible financial decision that I regret absolutely none of. I'm still paying that car off, I think. But either way, that's what got me into Subarus. But I didn't really make it to the track other than like a random track day I did down there in like 2003, which I only did like 4 laps. I did a bunch of autocross, but I did a ton of Forza. I played a lot of Forza, especially Forza 2. I was really deep into. I had some top 100 times, and we had a league going and all sorts of stuff. We had a lot happening. It was a lot of fun. Those were great times. But then 2016 rolled around. Actually, would that have been 2016 rolled around. I was working for a company that was a sponsor for Gridlife at the time, and they insisted that I went to this event. And I'm like, man, I don't want to go anywhere this weekend. What are you doing? And Graham found out what it was, who was my tuner. And he's like, dude, let's take your wife's 05 STI. I'll just throw a tune on it. We'll put it real soft, and we'll just go beat the crap out of her car all weekend. So we ended up going, had a great time, and it ruined me from there on out. We decided to do Time Attack next year because the times I was running after that year of HPDE were right there competitive with what was being ran in street. It wasn't called that at the time, but street. And Graham had a perfect car that kind of slipped into street mod. He ended up winning the championship in 2017. And, we've kind of been around ever since. They can't get rid of us.
Oh, yeah, you've been around a long time, and I think
Yep.
what's really cool is that it brings a consistent story for someone like myself to carry on. And also Graham's return to bringing that car back to Midwest Festival a couple of weeks ago. That was really neat to see that car back out.
Super cool to see that back out.
Had like a 2017 era windshield banner on it too that somehow snuck through until Mid-Ohio, which
Whatever do you mean?
so we'll have to. You can put the new one on over that one just to preserve it on the car. But Dewey, let's talk a little bit about Summer Apex because one of my missions here for Colleen was to get some Summer Apex chatter to put little clips on. So are we going to see you there?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, great.
We're going full prep.
Full prep. So Midwest did really well there. Mid-Ohio.
We ran a decent time, and then we made a bad tire choice and ended up with second.
Yeah, second. I mean, I guess second. Yeah, you time attackers.
We're here to win.
So, Summer Apex, GridLife's festival there. It's our second year there as a festival.
Yep.
Tell me about last year and your experience kind of seeing Road America festivalized in the GridLife way.
So, I'm going to be honest here. I didn't think GridLife could pull off a festival at Road America. I didn't think we could fill it. I felt like it was going to feel really empty for a festival. I was wrong. Absolutely wrong. I ended up talking to Adam about it when I caught him in the paddock. I'm like, I was so wrong about this. And I think Adam felt the same way too. He's like, I went into this thinking this wasn't going to work. Absolutely worked. It's actually really nice for a festival because you have a little elbow room, which is, not gonna lie, it comes at a premium at some of the other festivals. This is nice. And it's literally like a state park. But it works really, really well for a festival. I think one of the coolest things is when you're going around the carousel in the back section of Road America, and you see where the stage and everything is set up back there. It feels like, this has been said a million times, but it feels like Forza Horizon, okay? It feels like a crazy video game thing happening because you have all this stuff back there that normally isn't there, and it feels exciting. And not only that, I couldn't believe how many people were camping next to the side of the track. So you'd go tear through. There'd be people out in the middle of nowhere on the sides of the track, with epic spots. And there's still more room for people, but just these incredible spots to camp and watch cars tear by. It's so perfect. It's so perfect for this. I mean, the track, I'm not going to lie, it's rough on cars, okay? Because it's super. We're going to hit this year probably 170 mile an hour 3 times in one lap. It's brutal, but it's a spectacle for people to watch. You're gonna see really fast cars there. So I didn't think it'd work, but it did.
Tell me about Road America as a time attack track, because when we talk about our wheel-to-wheel stuff, a lot of drivers will tell me like, hey, this we love this place, we love driving it, but for IBOC GLTC, maybe a place like Mid-Ohio puts on a better show. What about Road America in the time attack scene?
So it's kind of, I'm not going to say it's the same situation. It really caters to different types of cars. Most of these time attack cars were set up for a minute 30-ish lap, cranked right up. And these are, I'm hoping to get down near like a 213, but you're wide open throttle for so much longer on this, on a lap of Road America than you are pretty much anywhere else in the country. It is nuts how fast you are going and how often you're doing it. So it brings a new challenge. But even normally very reliable vehicles, LS powered NA cars and, big displacement things that aren't running tons of boost, they run into problems too. It's different. And not only that, your arrow's falling apart because it's not used to seeing these speeds. It's you have to prepare for this event. I don't feel that you have to prepare as hard for other events like you do Road America. I mean, we're all stops out. We're actually doing a refresh on the engine just because I got to be real. I've never went there and drove the car back on the trailer, and we want to do everything we can to make sure we can do that.
Yeah,
because it's been brutal.
Your horsepower. Let's start your horsepower here for a second, because I know this has been a fun conversation. So in testing the Firelapse integration that we've got for Gridlife GT, I was pulling data from Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and I had your VMAX at Mid-Ohio, and this is verified on video, at 165 miles an hour.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
You say only 170 at Road America? You're going to do faster than that.
We start hitting a pretty serious wall of air.
Okay. You got a square bumper.
We got a very square bumper, and this is a 95 Impreza L. It was not designed for 170 mile an hour. It wasn't even designed for 70 mile an hour. Okay. This was designed to take grandma back and forth to the grocery store reliably in the snow. It was not designed for this. So we start running into constraints. The gearing will be a little bit better for this. Especially with the new gearbox. And I think I'm going to be able to get out of turn 14 a little better than I did during the record lap last year. I came in all sorts of funny. But I think 170 is probably all we're going to see, because I do not want to turn the power up anymore. It's too hard on the car here. So we're going to be running just over 600.
That's wild to me. Yeah, so I guess the other thing to consider, at the racetrack, you talked about how hard it is on cars. You got the curbing there too, but one of the podcasts that I hadn't listened to that in your Heat Exchanger podcast, I went back and listened to just the other night, was the one with AJ Hartman and the aerodynamic conversation that she had. So, how much are you messing with your wing at a track like Road America or Mid Ohio, or are you gonna generally kind of leave it where it's at?
I mean, I got to be real. We have the most basic aero of any fast, probably all of A group. Okay. We have a very basic splitter, which it works really well, just some Pro Awesome splitter diffusers, and it's simple. And we've got the small AJ Hartman wing. Like, it isn't a very big wing. And we don't run a lot of angle. So like, there's not a whole lot we can do, tape the hood. We might mess around with plugging our grill area, because we think we're going to get enough air through the bumper opening. So we might mess around with some small stuff like that. But taping a bunch of stuff up, we might have a side skirt on the car by then, which I think will help out. But that's not really, there's not a whole lot we can do. Now, I will say some of these other cars in the class with larger wings, they make that trade-off to go to a little less wing angle, and then kind of deal with it through the carousel. The two-wheel drive cars tend to run much larger wings than we do. I just let the car kind of dance and pray to God 3 diffs figure it out. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm stoked to see you again at Road America and see you go for it, especially now that I've gotten a better understanding of all the things you've had to do to that car to make it go fast, taping things off. We'll start wrapping things up here with you, Dewey, but I wanted to ask this too, because the sport of time attack is all about finding the edge, finding the limit, exploiting the gray area. What's the craziest thing or the weirdest thing that you've done to find some speed on the racetrack, or the craziest or weirdest thing that you've seen somebody else do that was within the rules, or maybe it was in a gray area, but like...
I've seen some stuff outside of the rules too.
I'm sure you have.
One of my favorite ones that I'm actually going to call my boy Jackie Ding out on. Years ago, Jackie was at a massive disadvantage when we were at Road Atlanta. Okay, he had this issue where his S2000, he was an NAS 2000 running in street.
Yep.
And I gotta be real, he was screwed at Road Atlanta. But he actually found a few mile an hour on the straightaway by using some weather stripping that he ran up the A-pillar and taped it on. But he did a really good job of taping it really nice, so it looked OEM. Technically, that was an OEM, but it worked. That same event, I cut up the street back in the day was great, by the way.
Wild West.
I went out to Walmart, and my temps were going nuts, and I needed a way to really drastically help my oil temps. And so what I ended up doing is I had an oil cooler that was fitted off to the side. We shoved it in the front, and then I took a trash can that I bought from Walmart, so a plastic trash can, and cut it up with some HVAC tape to make a duct. And I ran that duct for years, absolutely years. And it still worked flawlessly. It was so, the backyard engineering that went into that right there worked flawlessly. And then the one I designed later on was based directly on that, just made out of aluminum.
I love it, and I want to get more stories like that, because that stuff is makes this so much fun, and it'll give me a lot more context to talk about on the broadcast next week at Summer Apex. But Dewey, I'm going to let you go here. I think that you've done a great job joining me and kind of helping us get into this show rhythm. I'd like to have you on more, and I think
I'm always open.
certainly, we're not in a position yet where we figured out like how many hosts are we going to have. It's like I planned this so that like I can come here on a Tuesday and just do this on my own, and then we can bring in some guests. But I'd love to have you back on again throughout the season, and we can kind of check in with you. But huge thanks to you for popping in, and you guys are talking about spicy stuff on Heat Exchanger. When does that come out?
We record live either Tuesday or Wednesday, and usually it comes out over the weekend or on Mondays. But yeah, just find us on Spotify is the best way to do it. Then it pops up. Same thing with all the rest of the guys on podcast. I'm gonna just scream this. If you're listening to these podcasts out there, make sure you comment, make sure you share it. It's really good for everybody for the algorithm. Like if sharing it for everybody, sharing this is huge for the algorithm. And the more people we have in here, the bigger the community gets, and we're all having a great time.
Awesome. Well, Dewey, thanks so much, man. I super appreciate it. Looking forward to it, and we'll see you soon.
Yep. See you next week.
Alrighty. Thanks, Dewey. Man, Dewey DeWitt joining us here. What a pleasure to have him here joining us on our first show. And I got to move back into the waiting room. There we are. I'm operating on a screen that's like 20 feet away from me with a wireless keyboard, so bear with me, folks. As Jim Smith says, if you don't like it, ... That's a deep heat exchanger cut. So we're about an hour and 10 minutes in. The other thing, I didn't plan a whole lot for tonight because I just wanted to sort of get some, just get into the rhythm of it and really just start doing it. And so for all those that are watching now, we'd love for you to chat in the Discord. And if you don't have the Discord, I'm going to basically drop the link here in the chat for you. If you don't have the Discord, join the Discord and just go ahead and chat. You can tag me in there. And let's talk about what we want this to be. What segments do we want to talk about? Which guests do you want on? We've got a couple set up already for next week, but we can do more. I don't have this at any set time interval. And Dewey says, if you guys don't start capitalizing my W, I'm going to lose. I'm going to lose it. Good stuff there, Dewey. Thanks as always. But yeah, this is designed for the community, and I'm really excited to be doing this. And Sean is still over there hanging out with me on a Tuesday after 8 o'clock. So big thanks to everyone for hanging out. But Summer Apex next week. Tickets are on sale. If you don't have your spectator tickets yet, summerapex.com for those. And then, of course, there's driver tickets still available. Remember, for Gridlife GT, if you've got a car that maybe you think you could run or you're thinking about running, but you haven't had that final little push, if you sign up now and you're one of the first 25 drivers to do so, free Firelink and a year subscription to their service, and we're going to use that live data on the live broadcast. So you've absolutely got to check that out if you've got a car that is able to run in those rules. If you're curious about the rule set for any of our categories, grid.life, and then go to the motorsports section. The rule pages are there. So Dewey's got a pile of ideas for this. I'm stoked. And again, every week can be different. There's nothing that says this has to be the same format and we have to do it the same way every week. I'm going to block out this hour, an hour and a half, and we're going to do different stuff every week. We're going to talk to different drivers, and we're just going to keep it fun, lighthearted, and interesting. So I think that's a show. And I think we could make it longer. We could. I think going into Road America, I think we'll have a couple more guests on, and we'll maybe preview the event a little bit more. But I think post Road America we'll have a lot to go over as well. So I would say on your Tuesdays, block out about an hour to 1 to 2 hours. I think on the upper end there for this show. So Jim Smith says Firelapse for GLTC next. Possibility. But that's going to wrap things up for tonight. And again, big thanks everyone for joining us here this evening. If you're not subscribed to the channel, do us a favor and subscribe. Our live stream links for Road America will be up by the end of the week, so make sure that you're subscribed to catch those. Big thanks everyone for tuning in. Accident Prone, Dewey, Omaris, Jim Smith, Matt DeRue, Scott Hollingsworth, and a whole bunch of others. Corey Hibbard, Case, and Jackie Ding, and all the rest of the guys for tuning in, guys and gals from around the country. Thanks, Jackie. It's simple. We're going to do more. We've also got, I know I'm a little out of focus and far away. This is my Elgato face cam, but we've got some better gear we're going to plug in for next week. We just need to get one of those dummy batteries to keep it alive. So As Track Mouse says, he's pulled a deep cut from the Lizard Brains podcast. Love your hair. Hope you win. And see you, Mario. Thanks for joining in. There's Jamie. I was just I didn't scroll up that high, Jamie. Thanks for checking in. And we'll see everyone next week prior to Road America. Have a good night, everyone, and we'll see you back here in 7 days. Have a good one.